Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another H2O Explains. This is a series where H2O explains all of the things going through his mind in his matches, giving us a bit of insight into how top-level Age of Empires 3 works. And here today we do have game number 1 from the 2016 Winter Championship. So an excellent game from an excellent series for this series to actually continue from. So that'll be nice. Of course, we're going to do all of the games in this series. So if you haven't seen them yet, by all means go and watch them. Of course, they are in a playlist on my channel. You can watch all of the grand finals. They are now out. But you could also just stay here and watch this video and watch this series. You absolutely can do that. H2O, though, 300 wood start by the looks of it there. Slamming down the fire pit and a trading post. This is not in the Aztec Gaia guide. What are you doing? This is not the Bible.
Yeah, so I guess it's not the typical opener. But when you start out with 300 wood, I like to get a TP first. You know, a lot of sets are building TPs now, and Aztec can do it too. So it's just kind of like it's kind of like having 2 TPs essentially, because the warrior priest is a TP too. And the other thing is, I started out with 50 wood, so I knew I could at least chop 50 wood and still get my house. And then I came over here and saw this 50 wood treasure as well. You know, so I was already committed, but then I knew I also didn't even have to chop any wood, so it was especially nice.
A whole house for free. Yeah, that's really good. Yeah.
Yep, and you'll also notice. You'll notice that I built the TP before converting this.
Yeah, and look, there's LordRaphael picking up 40 wood as well. It just happens so frequently on site. There's just so many wood treasures on this map.
Yeah, exactly. I guess it's important to mention that on this map, you know you're likely to find a lot of wood, so I tend to gamble a bit more and wait longer to chop. The other thing, the wood is incredibly far away from the hunts a lot of times. Like the walking distance from here to here is painful.
Huge.
Yeah, just painful. So I really don't want to chop any wood at all if I don't have to. The other thing, I saved my convert by using the tower on this treasure, so that way I have it for the treasure down here, or whatever I found. You know, had I run into a 90 wood, not having a convert, I wouldn't have even been able to take it. So
yeah, that's true. The tiger there, you definitely need to get rid of one of them to get a 90 wood treasure, which is absolutely worth pointing out because 90 wood is one of the many wood treasures that does spawn on the map there. But just to clarify at the start, I mentioned the Gaia Aztec guide. Normally with the 300 wood, you'd see perhaps a house, a fire pit, and a market go down. But Aztec taken part in the trading post meta, I suppose. But I have a quick question about this matchup, because in the comments of my YouTube video, there was quite a lot of people actually wondering why this matchup is to such a large extent just massing coyotes. Why do Mace Holton in this Aztec mirror, why do Puma Spearman in this Aztec mirror not see that much play? There's LordRaphael picking up his 110 wood treasure as well. I think he's ahead of you, actually. I know you got an 80 food treasure. It's about okay.
It's pretty much dead even, right? I mean, 150 wood versus 100 wood, and then 80. So it's like kind of, he got 50 more wood than me, but 80 less foods. It's pretty even. Converting the samurai, I'll answer your question after this. Converting the samurai and running him away, I don't care about the treasure so much. I mean, it's nice to get, but having a samurai makes it so that way my low HP monk can kind of continue treasuring, right? Because this guy's got 30 hand resist, and you can just kind of soak everything.
That guy's monstrous.
Yeah, he is. He's quite in control of the game. Yeah, but as far as coyotes only, there's kind of 3 reasons I see why. The first one is that Mace are like the best unit that Aztec has in H2. Like in a team game, if you were just building units for stats, you'd want to build a lot of Mace. They just counter heavy infantry so well. And then
Musks and Pikemen.
Yeah, exactly. As in Musks and Pikemen. So having that unit available to you automatically makes Puma weaker. Pikemen are a very weak unit class. And then Coyote are like a special cavalry unit that's not as bad versus anti-cav as anything else. So they're more of like this kind of blended unit that doesn't do bad against anything.
Yeah,
and so
Dragoons and Pikemen and Musks in hand combat or range if it's a Dragoon, of course. They actually, the multipliers aren't nearly as good against Coyotes as they are against normal cavalry. And of course, Coyotes are the sort of cavalry unit since the Meso civilizations didn't have horses. But yeah.
So you put all that together and you get lots of Coyotes, right? And then, then you can even add on the mobility factor if you want. Another thing to mention at this point is
they do move quickly.
Yeah, they are very fast. They also have the only upgrade card. So there's like 5 reasons apparently.
Yeah. So Coyote combat, that's true. Yeah.
Yeah. So moving into the H2, I did a couple things differently than normal. The typical thing to do is to chop 250 wood and build your war hut as the 700 wood is coming. But in this game, I've opted to go for a market with my chopped wood, and the reason for that is, with the tower already up, and because it's a high-level game where we're just like, it's going to be small economic advantages. He's not going to try to all-in rush me on Siberia with a tower. He knows that that won't work. So I'm taking advantage of that. The other thing I'm doing is I'm sending 5 villagers instead of 3 warrior priests as my second colonial card. And the reason for this is because right now I only have 18 villagers. So the 5 villager shipment represents over a 20% immediate boost to my economy.
That's
And
huge. Yep.
and the struggle right now isn't about getting out more cards. The struggle is about getting out 5 coyote every single time without getting housed and keeping bills going. And in order to do that, I need more villagers. I don't need more experience or warrior priests. I can wait a little bit on that.
What are you looking for here?
Yeah, so at this point I'm scouting. I want to see what he was up to. I want to see if he had a war hut. I want to see if, what, and I didn't even notice this in the game, but his fire pit has just started. He was in the middle of building it right there, I think.
Yeah.
It was a late fire pit, so I'm noticing that now.
So that's only just gone up.
Yep, and so I guess at this point I know that, I'm a little bit ahead on the fire pit game.
Shipment progression, yeah.
Yep, and so now I have 3 warrior priests coming in as my next card because it's clearly an economic game, and I didn't see any units either. So I've also immediately switched over to warrior priest dance right as soon as the shipment comes in, and the reason I do that is because at this point there's not really much left to send. I want to send Coyote Combat and 4 Bills at some point, but the rest of the cards are just kind of not really useful in the mirror. So at this point, what I'd rather have is I'd rather get ahead on the Warrior Priest game by starting this dance even before the 3 Warrior Priests arrive. And that gives me like a quarter of the first Warrior Priest.
I wanted to point that out. It's really clean. Like the second the shipment came in, you switched it from XP, so you're no longer getting that, to the Warrior Priest there. It's like getting that shipment to start coming is the important thing, so that you can start maxing out those Warrior Priests as fast as possible. It's just really clean, and I wanted to point it out, so I'm glad you were,
Yeah, I mean, I think that was one thing that helped me out quite a bit in this game. And if we just compare the 2 positions, I think I've just managed to squeeze out and these are the leads that you get in the high level, right? So they're very small leads. Like he's got 1 more coyote than I do, but I'm ahead of him on the warrior priest progression. And
you mentioned that you built your war hut out of the 700 wood as well, so that's all just part of trying to eke out as much economic, just a couple of extra resources here and there, and everything that you're doing, and over the course of the game, that's hopefully going to be meaningful, as in a few extra units at some point in some big fight that's very, very influential.
Yep, exactly. And he actually, you'll notice it's 5. I've gotten out 5 coyote, 4 coyote, and then 5 coyote. So at 5, if I didn't have that 5 vill shipment, I would not be getting these out. There's just no way it's possible. And I also opted to send 4 vills next. So I've gone 5 vills or 700 wood, 5 vill, and then I've gone 3 warrior priests, 4 vill. So I'm just booming as hard as possible. And as part of doing that, I feel like my biggest vulnerability here is if I haven't tested this matchup a lot. So if he finds some way to age up or something that I don't know about on this map, and Eagle Runner Knights hit the field, and I just have like 50 coyotes, I'm probably gonna lose. So that's what I'm doing right now. You'll notice that I sent a samurai out around this angle, and I'm cutting in, and it's very deliberate the angle I'm taking. I want to, I'll pause it, I do it twice. I want to see 2 things. How much coin is on the mine, and I want to see, how many warrior priests he has dancing. So I could see that he had already sent the 3 card, which tells me he's booming 2. And then, obviously, I saw only 20 gold gone on the mine, so I know he's not aging. I still feel like there's an opportunity, though, like, what if instead of 4 vills, he sends 600 gold? I've lost a lot of games in Japan mirrors by 4 vill versus 600 gold, so just kind of, I'm going to send another samurai scout in a little bit, I'm pretty sure. And so other than that, I mean, that's my only vulnerability, right? I mean, I'm dancing for warrior priest. That's the max boom you could do. I've sent all the economic cards in the best order possible. So there's no way I can lose from this point since he hasn't already rushed me. 20 coyote and 6 monkeys, I'm pretty safe. 2 towers, TC, everything here is very defendable.
Yeah, it's going to be very hard to push into you there, right? You've 2 towers, as you're mentioning, town center defense, and all of these things,
Yep, and so
samurai heading out again.
Exactly, and so we look at the angle he's taking. You'll notice, I'm just going to kind of toggle the view on and off. I could have ran straight down this middle pathway, but then that gives him all the opportunity to block it with whatever he wants to show me. I want to come in from the angle that lets me see these 2 things and gives him as little time as possible to deny the scout. And so you'll see it comes in here. I could have maybe been a little bit better, but that's as good of an angle as I think you can get. And I come in again, and what I see...
Making a beeline for the gold mine, and do you want to put the Fog of War on?
Yep, I'm on Fog of War in my view now. I was on his view. So now you come and I see the mine, I see the pit, so I got 5. And he does the same thing, but actually this is a key distinction, right? So he came in from this angle, and let's take a look at what he sees. So his vision is very limited, and this is what he gets out of this. He sees that I have 2 towers, right? I ran my army away so he couldn't see it, and all he knows is that I have 2 towers. He did get to see my mine isn't mine for the HF, but he also doesn't know how many warrior priests I have.
He doesn't know about the warrior priests. Yeah. So you saw how many? 5, right? And how many have you got?
I have 7, almost 8. So I knew I was ahead in the warrior priest dance at this point.
Yeah, and that makes sense, right, from earlier, because the fire pit going up a lot later.
Yep, exactly. The fire pit going up later, and that early switch to warrior priest dance that I did. And so now I'm sending Coyote Combat, and as we mentioned, I've now sent every card I cared to send, which is all the economic ones plus Coyote Combat. And I also know I'm up in Warrior Priest. So what I want to do now is make something happen. This is maybe one of the few windows I can do that, because I may have Coyote Combat in ahead of him, and I definitely have an attack dance bonus here. So.
Well, you know that this is go time, right? His fire pit hasn't been up as long, so he wasn't ahead in progression of XP because he didn't have as much XP as you did in the early game. Therefore, your Coyote Combat is therefore arriving probably sooner than his. You have more warrior priests. You just pointed that out, meaning your fighting dance is going to be much stronger. You said you consistently got out batches of 5 and 4. You deliberately sent the eco cards early on to make sure you didn't miss batches and silly things like that. So here you're looking for a fight. This is go time, and you've got the 5 do with the pet monkeys. Those things are like having extra villagers in the fight that aren't villagers. They just soak up HP. So this is a good time, right?
Yep, this is a good time window. So if we compare the opener of this fight, first of all, I made a huge mistake by not having these units up in the mix right away, along with my explorer being a little bit out of position. I think that doesn't help me very much, but. If you look at the position, look at the raw numbers, it's 34 coyotes to 34. I guess he has 34 exactly right now. So it's literally a dead even fight with very, he's got a warrior priest, and I think he has a samurai here somewhere. No, he doesn't. He has one more white tiger, and I've got my pets. But the important difference is the stats in the units. So his Coyote Combat's not in yet, so I have an additional 30 HP, and then he also only has 12% attack bonus, whereas I have 19. And so right now this is not a bad window to fight in at all. And I take this fight, but unfortunately this warrior priest soaks up bunch damage here. That's one thing. And then his explorer also gets a little bit better of an angle. Mine hasn't even gotten involved yet. A couple of bills coming in, So I have reinforcing. He also has a warhead who took a couple shots. And then so I did pretty well in this fight overall, but I recognize at this moment I'm probably losing this fight.
Jaguar Prowlers.
Jaguar Prowlers, and I'm just trying to save any unit I can. So this unit, I'm trying to use the full trade. And the reason for this is because at the end of those fights, you lose exponentially hard towards the end.
Yeah.
If I wasn't able to save these 9 coyote, I think I might have just lost the game with this attack. I was very nervous at this moment.
There's so many resources to lose. I love how you're like picking up the ones you see. Okay, these guys aren't snared. We'll pull them out. This guy's not snared. I'll pull him out. Yeah, just to try and get away with as much as you can out of that. But aside from that, until that point, it was actually a fairly even fight.
Yep, and if I had stayed there, I might have gotten snowballed by the Jaguars. But so at this point, I bounced back over as fast as possible. He's still on attack dance, and it's these little things that I used to kind of stay in the game. The fact that I squeezed out an extra warrior priest here and finished out my boom while he was sitting on attack dance still. And then I switched over to fertility and used that along with the coin crates to kind of accelerate my build. So that's important to point out, actually. So a lot of people might have sent 6 Puma or a Mace or Coyote or something as kind of a panic, I need more units. But once you finish up the boom with Fertility Dance, you don't really have any production problems. So I'd rather send...
That's true, yeah. Okay, so I guess what you're saying is the Mace Holton, the Coyote Runners, the utility of those shipments is that you get units instantly. They're useful for pushing, they're useful for defending here. But because you can train units at 176% speed, the gold is just so much better because it just turns into units basically instantly anyway.
Yep, and so instead I get 10 Puma out of these instead of only getting a 6 Puma shipment, right? So it's similar resources, right? But I mean, 300 gold is obviously harder to gather than 300 food, but all things considered, I really want to have the 10 Puma come out nice and clean from my war hut and then just get back onto Coyote. It's just a very clean shipment, 600 gold is if you use it to make 10 Puma.
Yeah, but on fertility, it's a bit like playing Portuguese, right? It's where you have 2 town centers or even 3 and you're training lots of villagers and you're using up all this food. Aren't you concerned that the time on investment is going to be quite long to get the food that you're spending on these villagers back, and therefore these resources could be on military units? You're not going to have them, and he's now pushing into you, and it's going to be a while before it's going to pay off and you can get the military units back. Tell me about it.
Yeah, so I'm okay idling my town center with fertility. Obviously, you can't keep it going the entire time. I want to use it to get an advantage in villagers, and it's
Yeah.
kind of this dangerous game where you want to make more villas than your opponent, but you don't want to make too many more, like you mentioned. And a lot of it comes down to what the available resources are on the map. There's a huge hunt here, a huge hunt here. As long as I'm in control of the game, villagers are actually pretty good at this particular moment up to about 60, I would say. In the 50 to 60 range with settlers and like 40 for CDB is when you get to this range where they're not quite as valuable anymore unless you're making a full mill transition, which is usually quite hard to do. I think Zuda mentions that often, is that it's very hard to transition to mills and plantations in a high level game. So
Yeah.
this fight here is a big fight. Actually, I thought that he would see me instantly, and I started attacking here. And I thought he had way more units than he actually ended up having, just because I lost the fight and there were units kind of at the edge of the fog. I didn't get to see his complete mass. So you'll see at this point, I'm actually a little bit scared. The numbers actually are quite even, but I was scared. And so
Oh, I
he's
see.
actually sieging here for a slight second. He missed it. I was attacking. I have a really good concave right now, but then I proceed to mess that up right now by pulling back. Like this pullback probably cost me like 5 or 6 units because I had such a good surround on
Oh,
his units, and I
yeah.
lost that. And it also
Just
let my Puma get into a bad angle here on the Jaguars in the future. So
there's something so small. There's just something silly and small, and it was because you saw his mass coming in and on the edge of the fog and thought that there was more because of the way they were sprinting towards and trying to sort of get the formation there.
yeah, and another thing about this is kind of like that game sense element where because I lost this last fight, I felt like I lost it kind of hard. I didn't really know how hard I lost it really, and so
Yeah.
I thought he would have more than he did, and so it's just kind of knowing what's
See,
possible.
you panic clicked away then.
Yeah,
Yeah.
which I mean, I usually click away if I think that I can't win the fight, and apparently it was very even, so I ended up having to take it. Him sieging the market for a second also helped me out quite a bit. I was able to damage what looks like, 3 or 4 coyote there. And so now if I unpause the game, this fight's going to continue, and you'll see the Puma spears end up getting stuck on the Jags quite a bit, and that's really bad for me actually. That was good positioning by him. And
Yeah.
we're both sitting on attack dance, obviously a ton of units here, and this is just kind of a brawl, right? All the units are just kind of slamming into each other, and
Yeah. Are you
since I'm closer with the reinforcement opportunity, I'm in a good position to win this fight.
oh, more units coming in? You're making sure, right? Your Pumas weren't fighting the Jaguars. That can't be good.
Yeah, I was trying to. It's hard. It's kind of hard to control it all the way through. Sometimes you just have to hit what's near. It's better to be
You
doing
switched to
damage.
fertility now.
Yep, and so now I switched to fertility, and that's because the number of units in this fight are really low, and I just want to pump out this 5 more coyote. And
Yeah.
actually, this is a really interesting moment because, and I hadn't realized this until now, but these coyote would be only halfway trained right now, or less than halfway trained, and they actually end up killing these 10 mace simply because I switched to fertility dance when I did. Because at this point, attack dance isn't too valuable, but these units being out, I tasked them up to here rather than like obviously I could have joined in on the fray here and killed these, but I saw an
Yeah.
opportunity to. I want to continue the fight. I'm
Yeah.
winning,
You
right?
want
I
to?
want it to
Yeah.
let's keep fighting. I don't want to let anything get away. And so my
Same
main
here.
goal is just to try to snare these guys, and it actually
Love it.
forces him to pull in these extra 5 coyotes. So all of this from fertility, and you'll notice now I was on fertility the entire chase, and now
Yeah.
that there's a solid engagement, what I would call a solid engagement where everything's fighting, I'm going to switch back over to attack dance, whereas he was on attack dance that entire time. And I'm not sure when I'll do it, but I'm sure maybe after this coyote come out, I switch it. I was trying, yeah, I think I do. Yeah, there it is. It switches
There it
now.
is.
And it does take a little bit of time to switch, but I tried to get the units out with fertility when I don't have a lot of units involved, and then switch to attack dance when real
Yeah.
engagements are happening.
So I love that. So when there's a big fight, you want that on, but when there's not very many units and you're stacking up all of the resources, that they're coming in quick, lots of resources. When there's a big pile of them, you switch it over to fertility dance just to pump all the units out real quick, and then obviously once they're back, get them into the fight and switch back to attack dance. So making real use of that, that's something that I think is, if I was playing Aztec, I would might get lost and just leave it on one kind of dance for far too long. You're really using the fire pit to its full advantage, or at least trying to get the most out of it.
Yep, and like right now, this is dead time. I should be on fertility, and he probably should be as well. But I'll make the switch soon. I'm thinking. But what's interesting about this is I'm trying to think. So I've ran out of hunt. That means he's likely out of hunt. And where can he go next? I mean, I don't see anything over here really. So it has to be this hunt or this hunt. And just based on like this hunt's way safer than this one right now. I feel like he's going to be on this hunt. And so what's kind of interesting though is he's in the middle of teeing up this hunt. and without any knowledge of the fact that that hunt exists and that he's on it, I have one deer and I'm running in this direction. Like if this one deer weren't here, I probably wouldn't have moved in this direction. And so I'm coming in here, and I'm like he does something that I never do. I never build a second warhead, which is I don't know if it's good or bad, honestly. I just would rather have the 250 wood.
Yeah.
But if he didn't do that, he probably would have lost right here, honestly. So this warhead saving him at this moment. And I've switched back over to fertility. Just going to continue to make units, and I was trying to catch him off guard here. I saw the warhead, and I just ran away. I'm like, okay, well, I can't do anything about that. I might have actually been able to just sit on that and win if looking at it, right? I mean, he only had 5 coyote.
Yeah, I still love how you just go in that direction because you see one deer, and that's the most likely hunt that he would go to. It's that kind of game knowledge that gives you the insight here. What's this 600 gold coming down for?
Yeah, so the last 600 gold was for Puma Spearman. This 600 gold is to buy wood, so it's basically a 500 wood shipment. It's like a flex 500 wood shipment, I feel like. So it's a little bit less, but if you think about the problem with putting 600 wood in instead is that you can only send that card once, whereas now I can use this to either make Puma, I can use it to buy wood. I really can use that shipment in a very flexible way, which is nice. And I can send it as many times as I want.
You value it at, yeah, that's true. So if you saving the other ones, I suppose, but the more important point there is it's worth more villager seconds than the other shipments, and you get to more importantly train it into coyotes here, which are never mind.
Yep, coyote, exactly. The unit
It is
that we want.
coyotes, because you've sent the combat card, and they're really you've invested in them quite heavily at this point. So again, just efficiency.
And so my units are up here. I've got a good hunt spread at this point. I've got 20 vills on this hunt. 20 it's 15, 18, 18 again, basically. I've got a ton of vills in all the hunts. And you'll notice that
how many villages do each of you have?
I have 54, and he has 43.
Yeah, and that's a result of fertility dance more than anything else, or is it because of the raiding, the fighting back in his base? I only pulled some villagers in.
I killed 1 villager and 1 warrior priest. I think it's a combination of that, and it's also, I think he went back to XP dance before getting to 10 warrior priests, so he's actually still finishing out his warrior priest boom right now, whereas I've been in this kind of fertility phase of the game. And at this point, though, I've got enough vills. I'm going to focus more on getting out full batches of coyote here. Because I've already it's kind of like in StarCraft when you've saturated something. Like these hunts feel saturated to me, so I don't really need any more vills.
Yeah, I love how you have 50 villagers on food and nothing else. If steel traps was something this civilization could have, that would be monstrous.
Yep, and I'm buying wood still, right? So he comes in with this raid. I won the last fight really hard. This is a lot of coyote here, and my army's not in position to defend. And so my gut instinct is to go and attack him here. I know that he's hunting over here, and he's not hunting over here. So I'm like, he's got to be all in on this hunt. So I got to go over here and try. Yeah, and so as a result of that, though, a lot of times players will make the mistake of going back to defend. And I should have had a house up here, honestly. This is very Raphael-esque. Like his style is to make these small raids happen and throw you off guard. And he caught me completely off guard on this raid. But my army was in a position where this raid was not really viable, so I just didn't expect it. I just assumed that he won't make this raid because if he does, I think he might lose. I think it's a game-losing raid for him to make.
Are you saying that you thought he had a read on where sort of the whereabouts of your army was, and as a result of that, you're saying that the raid perhaps wasn't something he ought to have done because your army is quite near him and.
Well, it's not that he knew where my army was. By making this play, he's if I were to make this raid, I would be also saying at the same time, I'm assuming that your army is out of position in your base somewhere. So it's obviously not. You're saying you're not defending this, and you're also not in a position to attack me anytime soon. And so as a result, I was in a position to attack him, and so I'm coming in here and attacking. And not having 10 coyote here is going to completely push him off this hunt. And if we look at the numbers here, I have 30 coyote, and he has 8 coyote and 6 puma, right? I even had 3 puma, right? So really, he's up by 3 puma and down by 22 coyote runners in this fight. And every single bill he has is gathering food here. He really needed to have these 9 coyote here to defend the warhead when he was behind. And so I'm just coming in here, and now we both go into attack dance for this fight. And I don't care what I hit, because I've got so many units, I just want to hit, and I want them to all be always doing damage. So I'm just kind of attacking here, and I don't care if I'm killing bills, I just want to kill everything. And, he did a good job. He got 6 or 7 bills here at least and pushed me out this hunt. But I'm still hunting here and here, and down in here. So, I think that one raid actually may have cost him the game because this fight here just went so well for me.
Yeah, that's monstrous. Absolutely destroying everything. And at this point, you're because those units weren't there. And anyway, what am I trying to say? Something about villagers.
Yep. At this point, villagers don't really matter. That's why I'm
Yeah.
punching here, right? I don't actually. I'm happy he makes this raid because it let me. I believe I killed 2 coyote here. Yeah, 2 1 HP coyote are left because I punched 2 of them out. I lost a couple of vills, but really, at this point, it's down to who has a stable military to control these hunts that are out all over the map. It's not really about how many units you have, and so my vills are fighting as much as possible, honestly.
Yeah, that seems to be a common theme in high-level games where the control of the game comes down to who has the biggest army that can control the resource locations for the villages you actually have to collect, rather than who has more villages or the stronger economy in theory.
Yeah, and you really need to be considerate of that in high-level games. A lot of times, sending that's like in several games I've had with LordRaphael and German mirrors in particular, he'll have like 10 more vills than me all game, but because he's constantly having to run off of resources or run around the map and kind of take bad trades, he's never really able to capitalize on the vill lead. And it's a very nuanced thing being able to play from the military advantage or the economic advantage. Like right now, I had the military advantage and the economic advantage. It turned out, but when you have only one of those, you have to kind of decide what you do. Like if you sacrifice a bunch of vills to win a fight, then you need to get out there and start making his vills stop gathering. Otherwise, you're going to lose.
Yeah.
And at this point, he's got these 4 coyote. They're kind of cycling through. I'm just trying to keep from taking any more damage because I'm sitting on all the hunts at this point. I'm very well set up on all the hunts, making units with fertility. I'm using fertility to get my vills back that I lost. Going to sit right in that 50 to 60 range. And this is actually a really important moment as far as army positioning goes. So these 10 coyote are over here defending the most vulnerable hunts. I'm also got units rallied over here to defend this hunt, but they're not rallied on top of the hunt. They're rallied in a way that if something, like I have this feeling he may want to try to save these. So if somehow his army from this warhead is down here to try to save these, I'm ready to kind of swoop in and defend. And I really like when you have a lot of melee units coming in from multiple angles. And so this is really set up in a way that can do that. So I've caught these coyote, and these guys are running up here. Everything's just kind of trying to be in a more flanky position.
So you can get a good
surround. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And you see, you see how they moved up. They moved up, but they didn't move in. Like I didn't just right click on them. I just tasked them up a little bit. And if you look at his vision, you can just barely see these. He's probably just walked into his vision.
Yeah.
And what I see his whole ball of army right here, and I'm thinking, like if you look at where these guys are all tasked, like this guy's tasked in.
Yeah.
Actually, he's tasked up here. You see that? Like they were ready for the surround. And so I immediately just kind of start cutting in now.
You're all fanned out and just ready just to collapse on top of them in all different angles.
Yep.
And also all those units were positioned to sort of defend raids sort of as well.
Yep, and at this level, you'll see, the vills are coming in because we both understand that vill concept.
Oh, yeah, blocking his.
My vills, yeah, and at this point, I actually got a really good. Some of my vills managed to continue walking into tank, and look at these right in the middle. But then a whole bunch of other vills are actually over here blocking his vills. And since I have an army lead, I just kind of want to make sure that the vills don't swing anything. So, continuing to pump units in. And at this point, this is just kind of the culmination of 20 minutes of really close gameplay from both of us, where I've managed to squeeze out a lead and win this last fight. So that would be game 1.
As the game does go to H2O. So Aztec is a civ I don't know a huge amount about, and this just really makes me want to play Aztec for some reason. I just want to. This looks like a really fun civ to play, and there's actually just so many things. It might be because I don't know very much about Aztec, but there's just so many like sort of nuanced things, with the what is it, that thing that you dance at?
The fire pit.
Yeah, like just stuff like that. It makes me quite excited.
Exactly. I think there's a lot to Aztec, and I really want to see people kind of figure out Aztec better. I know Garja knows a lot about Aztecs, but I think there's still more to be done as far as like how you use your units and probably some new builders. Just from having more people thinking about it always leads to new things. So.
Yeah.
That's it. That's about all I have, though. So.
Well, that was pretty fun. So thank you for doing that. I hope everybody enjoys it. Do leave some comments down below. I know both me and H2O do like to read those. And of course, if you'd like H2O to spend more time out of his day to do this with me, then let him know. But thank you very much for watching. Unless H2O has something to say.
Nope, that's it. Thank you for watching.
We'll see you next time.